Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Welcome back, Andrew. Welcome back, Adam. We are deep into the draft season now with only, days, really. It's this time next week will be the week of the 2026 NFL draft. A lot of exciting times to come on the night. If you haven't booked it off already, I recommend you doing it. It doesn't start till 1 a.m. Thursday into Friday. So book off the Friday if you want to stay up and watch it. It's a lot of fun. We always enjoy it. And Andrew and Adam have been doing some fantastic draft content for you guys out there who maybe don't know some of the players that are going to be in this draft and their positional breakdowns as well. So make sure you go and check them out on our YouTube page. They're really fantastic content that both of them worked really hard on. This episode, we're going to be doing our Plant the Flag episode, which we have traditionally done. This will be the third year that we've done this. And it's sort of talking about some players that they may be peripheral first rounders, but maybe a little bit further down the boards that Andrew and Adam do firmly believe will be a success in the NFL and that your teams should be keeping an eye out for. So very exciting. Going to be a few names I've never heard of in this one. I'm not exactly the draft aficionado, but I just listen to these two and I get better. Firstly, big wins on the Grand National. Did you have Iron Maximus? Ooh.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
And I also had McIlroy to win the Masters as well. So, it's been a good weekend.
I didn't bet on any of them. And Crawley lost and Arsenal lost. So I will, it's quite impressive that I'm still here and that I haven't slashed my wrists. So, good stuff.
Well, there's more to come. You've still got Arsenal to play Lisbon in the week.
Well, you're trying to depress me even more. That's the spirit.
You're 1-0 up. You're 1-0 up going into the game. You should be okay. Well, we hope Crawley get back to winning ways. Seems me and Andrew will be making our yearly sabbatical down to you next weekend and to go and watch the mighty Red Devils, the only real Red Devils,
exactly.
As we tell Sky continuously, being the Man United fan he is. Planting the flag. Andrew, we'll start off with you this evening. Who is the first player? I mean, I don't think it's in no particular order. You both have 5. It's no particular order, that top guy or anything like that. So we'll kick off with your guy to begin with.
My guy is a 6'2", 220-pound wide receiver out of Louisville. It's Chris Bell. I think he's the forgotten wide receiver of this class due to his injury that he had. I think prior to his injury, he was easily a first-round pick in this draft. So I don't understand why he's sort of dropped off the radar completely and no one's talking about him. There's a lot of bias with those playoff wide receivers that have now moved ahead of him. He's a guy, first team ACC, explosive straight line speed, vertical threat, really, really tough to bring down. He's over the 2025 season, really improved his route running too. Created after the catch as well, just a combination of just great size, elite size and speed for a wide receiver. One of his games, he actually clocked 22 miles an hour in-game speed. So, none of this running at the combine with in your pants, in proper pads and everything, What we look at for some of these guys is a lot of slot receivers. This guy is an ex-receiver with yak ability. He was also managed to get some honors. He was a Biletnikoff semi-finalist, which obviously is really, really big. And I think he's recovering from the injury and he's going to be ready for the NFL training camps.
Louisville, a college that the only player I know who played at Louisville is one Lamar Jackson. That's the only player I can
think of. A fair few from them. They're an ACC school, so they're a big school. Again, this guy's come up against some big opponents. He played Miami, which were the second seed, had a massive game against them. Played Virginia, which we may know, Clemson, SMU. So, he's well-rounded in the teams. It's not a small school as opposed to what some might say if you don't follow the football. So, don't let the school put you off from what he can do.
You're very right in terms of he seems to have sort of fell out of favor a little bit because I remember early on in the year him being sort of a back end receiver. But I remember the Steelers being mocked at one point taking him. That's how high up he was, and then he sort of fell down. And then people like Omar Cooper have replaced him in a way and sort of gone
Yeah,
back
this
up
is
the
what I'm
ball.
saying. You sort of you get to the playoffs, and Omar Cooper Jr. is catching balls in the playoffs, and Chris Bell's done for the season. And I think that people, memory bias going, I remember seeing him. I remember him in the playoffs. That's against the big teams. And I think that's really pushed maybe 3 or 4 people above him when the talent isn't quite as good. He's rehabbing really well. Like I said, he's going to be ready for NFL training camp. So it's not as if he's going to miss any of the season. And I just think a team like the Cops, this guy's been comparison to AJ Brown in terms of the size and speed and things. I think, equally very similar to Michael Pittman. So the Colts, it would be a perfect spot, and the Bills as well for me would be perfect to try and take this guy, because he's now ranged as a day 2 pick. And we know day 2 means it could be round 2 or round 3. And I'm seeing him mocked round 3, which I think is a slight in him. As I said, without the injury, he's a first round pick all day long.
And like I said, with that being a day 2 pick, you could go in the first 10 minutes or the first 2. You could easily be in that top bracket or find yourself falling down. I do feel like when you get to that second, third round, we sometimes have guys that suddenly fall. And some guys really, we raise our eyebrows out like, oh, that's a little bit high for me. But I think it opens up a lot more in that day 2, 3. Obviously last year, everyone was a lot more glued to the draft for like day 2, 3, 4, 5. Round 2, 3, 4, 5, because of one Shedeur Sanders was dropping. So more people were watching. Whereas I think some people a lot of time watch that first round, maybe watch a little bit of their second, maybe their pick in the second round, and then don't really pay attention to much else of it. So, there's plenty of really, really good players from good schools like Chris Bell that are going to be taken within the second, third round. It wouldn't be shocking if we went the 4th, I don't think, but it's still, because these players can just when they're in that range, it can happen. We don't know. We only know what we've. I say we. You both of you have analysed and watched and opinion. So yeah, it'd be really exciting to see a wide receiver I've actually heard of. I was thought in my head I was guaranteed never going to hear any of your players that you guys are bringing tonight, but I have heard of Chris Bell. Adam, on to you. Who have you got?
Just quickly on the Bell thing, that's the reason that you probably have heard of him, and a lot of people have, but he's allowed to be in this one is because the ACL has dropped him so far, and so I think it is definitely something that's good. I think he's got a really good chance of doing something. For me, so my first guy, I've gone for a running back out of Arkansas, Mike Washington, at 6'2", 228 pounds. So he's a big guy, good size, good strength, long strides, goes through contact, great yards after the catch. I think he understands when he needs to be that bruiser type of running back, but he also has the ability to perform in other ways as well. He got himself a Senior Bowl invite, and he really has just progressed from there. The combine was very good. I think he has a real sort of nice speed to power attack about him, and has the ability to change direction really quickly. So a guy at that size who can change direction quickly is what you want. He does need to be a bit more consistent. He has had a few fumbling issues in the past, especially in the last couple of years. So I do feel like there are improvements that need to be made, but he is someone who I think has got a decent chance of being able to do something. Kind of, Andrew's not going to like it. Reminds me of Quinshon Judkins a little bit, but I think he's probably more likely to be a Brian Robinson. And I think that he's got a really good chance of being there. I'm not sure exactly when he'll go. I think he potentially could be round 3, but I think we're probably looking more round 4. And at the beginning of day 3 is probably where he will end up going. But yeah, running back, big, strong guy. None of these little running backs with this guy. And I think he's got a really good chance of having the strength and size to really make a difference for a team.
I will warn you both, I may have an unscheduled sneeze coming out of nowhere, because it is like creeping up on me every time you've been talking, and it might just happen. So if I suddenly drop out, that's why it is. I'm 2 for 2. I know who this player is as well. I actually first caught his name in your running back video that you guys did and talking about positions, and I was very impressed with what you were saying. Is maybe that drop of him? I'm not saying he's like a bulldozer like that of 15 years ago in that running back style, But teams are now opting more for running backs who are a little bit more slight, are that speedster, can do that, catching out of the backfield and then yards after catch, the Christian McCaffreys, the Jahmyr Gibbs, that style of running back. Is that what's hurting him from maybe going a little bit further up? Is maybe he's a little bit more of a traditional style running back of years gone by rather than what we know now?
Yeah, I mean, I think by comping him to players like Judkins and Brian Robinson, that they are players who can do a little bit of that, but they are predominantly more sort of the big backs that sort of like grind through and sort of not necessarily have both sides of the game. This guy does have it a little bit, so it's like he can do it, and that's something that is a bonus for him, but it's not his main game. I would argue. I'd say it's kind of like his main bread and butter is very much the sort of like the hard yards, and he does that well. Yeah, I mean, look, I think every team wants the explosive running back who can do everything, don't they? So it's like, but that's just unrealistic for a lot of teams. Not every running back is going to be able to do that. And I think another reason that he's probably dropped isn't necessarily his fault. I think it's just that running backs drop now. It's like they do go over now.
I think this guy's risen up a board rapidly.
Do you not think that he's not? So I suppose when we say drop, he's not a first round pick. He's not something
you're saying he should be considered that end of first round, second. In years gone by, he would have been considered.
So prior to us even starting, so at the end of the year when we even started this process, if you talk about before the Senior Bowl and anything like that, no one would even mention this guy. I think he was probably ranked most people's running back 10 of this draft class, because he did have a solid season, an absolutely amazing breakout season in his 5th year at college. I think that's what it is. He had 3 years at Buffalo, didn't really do anything at all. Had 1 year at New Mexico State, which was good, really good, but a smaller school. And they had that one breakout year at Arkansas, which is a big school. And I think that's why it's kind of, he's on no one's radar, because we didn't really know who he was till this year. And then people noticed him against the bigger products at the Senior Bowl and stuff. And now he's rising up boards, and he's now people's running back 2, 3. So I think there's a rise from this guy rather than a fall, I think, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair. I think if you look at it purely from the draft class and what's happened, he has risen against the other running backs. I suppose what my point is that it feels like in the form of a drop, running backs just aren't important anymore, and it's like that, or that's how they're perceived. It's wrong. I think the whole Ken Walker Super Bowl MVP, Saquon Barkley a couple of years ago, it goes to show that it is wrong, but unfortunately NFL teams just don't sort of like think of them as a particularly important piece, or more to the point, probably that they don't want to spend money on these guys. And so they kind of let them drop down the rounds. This is the thing. It's like, because it's like you're saying, he's risen in this draft class, and a lot of people are having him as the number 3. I think it's not the sort of average that he seems to be coming out as, behind Price and Love. But realistically, there is also a feeling of that he might not go day 2. He might be a day 3 pick. And so it's like, it just goes to show how little the NFL sort of like thinks of the running back, I suppose.
It probably also stems to the fact of how good they are coming out of college now, is that they can go, well, we don't need to pay a guy, because
there's
good guys that are coming out as well. There's guys that are ready that we know we can trust straight away. And I think that has been proven a little bit as well with some of the guys that we've been seeing coming out. Andrew, on to your next player.
Well, my next guy is a running back as well. So lots of choice to be had here at the running backs after the first guy goes. Mine's Nick Singleton, 6 foot, 224 pounds from Penn State. He's been a big my guy since he first sort of hit the scene in 2022. Had an absolute breakout freshman year. So unlike the guy that we just spoke about, who it took him 5 years to really showcase what he can do, this guy's been doing it since day one in college. I find that for me, he's definitely a 3-down back. He's got elite speed. He's a guy that ran a 10.86 in the 100 meters. a powerful north to south runner that has massive upside in the passing game too. I feel like that's what the NFL wants and desires. I feel like there's a lot of these running backs that are just big guys that run well up the middle, but this guy's got the full package, which are not a lot of these guys have got. He's a former 5-star recruit, but he had that foot injury right at the end of the year. We actually got it at Mobile in the Senior Bowl, and I feel like his lack of production in 2025, competing. They shared the ball a lot with Katron Allen, who's another guy that people really, really like. And just Penn State last year were just awful. The whole coaching staff's been fired. There was lack of production from the quarterback, the running backs, the wide receivers did nothing. Even a couple of the defensive players are dropping in stock just because Penn State had a bad year in comparison to what they were expecting and what was expected of the two running backs, especially. But this guy's had 0 fumbles, 45 rushing touchdowns. He's Penn State's all-time leading touchdown scorer and all-purpose yards player at 5,568 yards. So the production is there. We often talk when we're talking draft, we go, this guy's got all the traits, but no production. Well, this guy's got all the traits and the production, and I'm going to plant my flag in him because I believe once he gets to the next level and gets some good coaching behind him, he can really excel and push forward. We've seen him plateau a little bit and not take the next step. But once he gets to the NFL, I think that's where he takes his next step.
From the sounds of it, with our first running back that Adam had, it seemed to me like a team with maybe someone who's got a bit of that smaller, speedster, elusive. I mean, to be honest, when you were describing your guy, Adam, I was like, that sounds like a Steelers pick to me.
Yeah,
him and Warren as a duo. Andrew, it sounds like your guy here, Washington. No.
Singleton.
Singleton. Sorry, Washington was Adam's pick. Singleton. He could be the package, the whole shebang for a team. They don't need anyone else. It sounds like he could do it on his own.
Yeah, I mean, I had him pegged down as if the Titans went in a different direction with their first pick. I know everyone's saying, yeah, it's Love. Maybe they could wait and take a punt on this guy later. He could be that all-down back for them. We're looking at Jets might need to replace Breece Hall. This could be the guy. We're talking Eagles might need to replace Saquon at some point. Penn State guy, like Saquon, could do that. And the Buccaneers and the Jags, I think they need a player like this as well in their locker room. So I think there's a lot of teams that would be ideally after this guy because he is a bit more of the full package. Like I said, I think he's a 3-down back to me.
I feel like Adam didn't seem so.
I think if Singleton had an empty field, he'd find a defender. That's all I'll say about Singleton. He's very impressive at finding that defender.
This guy has got 3rd, 4th round grade on him currently. When I talk about good tape, production, traits, I think that's a steal at round 3 and 4. If you are,
I think in fairness, again, I would say Singleton is a good running back, and he's shown that he's got the ability to succeed in the NFL. I think that, again, the reason that we can kind of put these guys into this episode is because just how the running back is valued, and that's kind of all it boils down to.
We'll move back on over to you, Adam. Who have you got next on your roster?
Next, I've got a safety. It's quite a good safety class.
Just when I thought we were going to do all offensive players.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. Don't you worry about that. There ain't much offense this year. We've got a safety in what I think is a reasonably decent safety class. I've gone for AJ Horsey, 6 foot, 215 pounds, out of LSU. I think that what we've got here, and something that is different to a lot of the other safeties, and some of the safeties that will probably go ahead of him, this guy being 215 pounds, he's got quite a decent sized frame and strength behind him. The other guys just don't have that compared to him. So I think he's a really good shout for someone who needs that sort of have a strong safety who's up for tackling. Zone coverage instincts are really good. He reads the quarterback's eyes incredibly well. Good ball skills. He's had 10 career interceptions, 19 passes defended. good, effective run defender as well. So not only is he good in zone, he's effective against the run. His tackling needs to improve, which anyone who saw us do the safety episode, I probably said that about every single one of them. He does lack the top speed, and sometimes he can get a bit flat-footed when he backpedals a bit. Not a lot, not awful, but he just does a little bit. For me, he reminded me of Andrew Makuba. That was the guy that he was taken, I think it was the beginning of the second round, wasn't it? He went. And I think that Horsey will probably end up going roughly around that same point. However, for me, I think he's not far off a first round pick. I think he has the talent to be a first round pick. He's just not going to go there because I think other teams there's 2 or 3 others that are, I mean, obviously like Caleb Downs is amazing. Dylan Thieneman looks very good as well. And then it's McNeil Warren is the other one. And it kind of feels like, do we think all 3 of them are going the first round? Possibly. So I think it kind of knocks Horsey out a little bit. Had the sort of the special talents of the top 2 not been in this draft, I think he would have been a first round pick and would have been chosen because he does have a lot going for him.
Well, he could easily be in the first 10 picks of the second round, couldn't he? If reasonably 3 safeties go in the first round, which a lot of people are mocking, a few people have McNeil Warren just poking at that, then you're going to have a team that is going to go, well, the 3 best are gone. And, they might see him as being a cut above everybody else. And a team might go up and even try and get it. A team maybe trades up, or maybe a team that goes, we don't know if we necessarily need him, but when we're looking around, them top 3 are gone. It's only going to get a worse depth wise the further we go in this draft. So we'll take a punt on him. And I know I've been more like the safeties will drop because I don't think positionally the teams value it as much as we think they should. But on the flip side of that, where I argue against myself, we are seeing the mass importance of people like Nicky Manwari, Carl Hamilton, players like that. Yeah, all right, maybe some of these guys who are coming into this draft aren't the same build type, maybe even sort of stereotype in terms of their leadership qualities and stuff like that. I don't know how much you know about that, Adam Withhalsey. Is it reported that he's sort of a locker room leader within LSU and stuff like that? And it's a very prestigious school to go to, a team that didn't do very well this year, from what I recall.
Yeah, we were talking about him in terms of what he'd brought to LSU when we were covering him the other day, and I brought to light with it that in 2024 LSU's defense was the laughing stock of the SEC, and they brought in some players in the transfer portal. One being Horsey, who came from Houston, and him and Mansour Delane, who we all know, were like the key figures of making this 2025 defense this shining light of LSU for 2025. And it was the offensive side of the ball that let them down, but they were the keystone players that really stepped up and made that defense great for that year. So he's definitely a leader in my eyes in what he can bring with that. And what's interesting when we do this show is when we were covering them and talking about them, and Adam's got him as his plant the flag. We had him and McNeil Warren really closely graded. And as you were saying, you've heard of McNeil Warren, but you haven't heard of Horsey. And we have them very closely graded where we could quite easily flip the 2 potentially on any given day. So that's what's interesting about doing this show.
It could make, a lot of people that are mocking safeties to go to teams in the first round, Cincinnati Bengals, Minnesota Vikings, them teams might go, we can hold. We know there's a good player in second. Horsey is someone who we like. We know we can hold till the second. We've got decent picks. Well, I believe Cincinnati have got a decent pick in the second. I would have to double check on myself on that one. But again, you have an ammunition to be able to go up and around. So they might feel like they can hold on, and they might try and strengthen in other places prior to that. Andrew, back on to you. Who's your third player?
My third player is Isaiah World, the 6'8", 312-pound offensive tackle. He comes with major experience, 49 starts over 4 years as a starter. Started at Nevada, really showcased his talents and his skills. And then when he was ready to move on to bigger competition and go to a bigger powerhouse school, he was the #1 overall player in the transfer portal. So, he managed to move to Oregon State. Absolutely huge team. A former basketball player. So when we're talking 6'8", 312 pounds, this guy's got athleticism as well. We talk about them maybe just being a big lump and things like this. No, he's got athleticism, body control. For his size, he can really move around the line with great movement. And you've got to remember, in that final year that he had in Eugene at Oregon, he would have been practicing and training with Mateo Ungalele, who Adam was buzzing about, but he's returned, who's a fantastic, phenomenal edge rusher. So he's been going up against him in practice, refining his skills, really imposing size, great hands, great power, lateral movement, fantastic in the pass rush protection. He only allowed 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, and 11 pressures last year at Oregon. He only allowed 1 sack the previous year at Nevada. Yes, against smaller schools, but 35-inch arms. So there's none of this T-Rex arms business here. Again, he's another guy similar on my list. I would have thought this guy would have been talked about in the first round with what he brings, but he tore his ACL on the 9th of January in the playoffs. Which has just plummeted his stock completely. He's not going to be ready for his rookie season. It's probably going to be halfway through his rookie season that he's going to be ready. But I'm willing to plant the flag on this guy and say when he's back and he's good and he's ready, a team that can sit on him and might need a replacement in the future, a 49ers or a Chargers or something, especially the 49ers. Next year, the following year, he could be easily, for me, a starting tackle, Pro Bowl caliber, left tackle. He's played majority of his time. He's played left tackle. He had 1 year, his first year, at right tackle. So has the ability to play both. But, when in terms of size, power, ability, very similar in conversations to Tyler Guyton, who was a first-round player. So there's no reason why this guy can't be of that standard as well. And in that conversation, it's just that injury again. It's going to drop him down. You're going to get him at huge value in the 4th or 5th round, and could be, like I say, a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle.
6'8". I mean, these guys aren't like born, are they? They're just like molded and sculpted into these animals, these monsters. Like, I mean, I think it sounds to me like you can never be happy about getting an injury, but it might be an absolute blessing in disguise where he winds up on a team that is a playoff team for the next few years, and he's just learning off maybe a great, like you said, Trent Williams, maybe Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, maybe someone like that, and you're right, maybe the Chargers look at him, okay, Joe Alt's only just got there, but Rashawn Slater's had a fair few years now, and then he's under the Harbaugh tree, even if he was at San Francisco, he's under the Shanahan tree, all right, we might not think much about Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia, but you can't deny the culture of the organization. He's going to learn from some really, really great players, and like I said, you're never going to be happy about getting injured, but maybe this might be a blessing in disguise where he ends up on a team that are going to treat him right, are going to be patient with it, and are going to, he's going to be able to learn off of a great. And I mean, say what you want about being picked, 4th, 5th round. Sometimes it works out for a lot of players. Not everyone's a 1st round pick or a 2nd round pick. Some people have to wait. And he's going to have to wait a little longer because he's not going to be ready for the season to start. But boy, he could really, it might not be a name that anyone thinks about now or in maybe Christmas this year, but what real round to that 2027 year, you might be right, Andrew. He might be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I think he's only going to be getting reps and practice with these guys and his rehab as well with the NFL guys. So if he learns and refines, if we're talking prospect and developmental, the world's his oyster. Sorry, Adam.
I think a team like the Chiefs would make a lot of sense for him. I think a lot of these guys who you're saying, they're coming back from injuries, that's an ideal team for these players who are sort of like should be higher up the board and have the talent to be higher up the board. They just don't quite, because of the injuries, they've been knocked down. The Chiefs are a team that are a very good team who are probably not going to do a great deal this year coming up because of the Mahomes injury. So you just sort of feel someone like him to protect him would make a lot of sense. And yeah, there's a few teams out there that he could go to.
Sorry to put you on the spot here with this question, but I
No,
know
you're not. You do it all the time.
I spoke about Isaiah World quite a bit during the season. Without the injury, what round grade would you have on him?
God almighty, I'm on to my next one. How am I supposed to?
I felt like he had first round talent, back of the first on it, especially with his upside of being a tackle as well.
Where would I
similar caliber?
I feel like there are players like Blake Miller and
Monroe Freeling,
Jennings Dunker and Monroe Freeling, who are all being spoken about as back of the first, early second. I think that it would be fair to have him in that conversation. I don't think I would have him above Maonoa or Fanu.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't have him above Owane at all. But yeah, I mean, I think that the sort of like, I don't know. I personally think a lot of O-line, but I say this every year and it never happens. I think a lot of O-line guys will go in the first round because there's some real quality here. But once you get past that sort of top 10, it does drop off a bit. But yeah, I mean, he could easily be like back at the first, early second. I think he could have been.
Also, a factor that will play into it is if a big team well, when we say big team, if they draft him and then sit him, it's not, he was at Nevada, but he went and played for Oregon and played superbly, and they were a big team. He knows pressure, and he knows, I mean, is it Dan Lanning? Is that their coach at Oregon?
Yep.
I mean, I know that he's a highly touted coach around the NFL college world, and that he's seen as, one of the top guys, isn't he? And I'm sure there's a lot of coaches out there that will be ringing him up and going, yeah, he's injured, but what can we really expect from him, even though we've got the tape and everything like that? They're going to have them conversations, aren't they? Adam, onto your third player.
Right, I've got a corner from San Diego State. Chris Johnson, 6 foot, 193 pounds. What I like about Johnson is I just think he reads the game incredibly well, sees the quarterback come in all the time, and just reacts to it very well. Has fluid hips. He can run. He can mirror wide receivers easily. He doesn't grab, which is lovely to see because most of them like to. And he doesn't lose ground either. He's really good in zone coverage. He had 4 interceptions in 2025. Feel like he's good at the catch point, despite the fact that he's not necessarily overly tall. And a dependable tackler. We don't see much of that either, do we? So he missed 3 of 54 attempts in 2025. So you've got a really good, athletic, dependable corner here who, when I looked at the tape, it reminded me of Benjamin Morrison. It really did. He has that ability about him. Downside, played in the Mountain West. It's a bit of a jump up to the NFL. And that's basically it. There's not really much else wrong with him. It is literally that he is going up, he has gone up against players who are not the top standard, and he's now going to go up against NFL caliber wide receivers. So it's going to be a case of whether he can deal with that jump. None of us are going to know that until he actually comes into it. But he looks decent. Everything I saw on tape, I thought was really, really good. Like I say, he reminded me of Benjamin Morrison a lot, but can he cope with it? I don't know.
I think that's something that maybe to the draft novice, they sometimes forget is, some of these guys are not at humongous schools, and they're not just going to have to learn how to play in the NFL. They're going to have to learn. They sort of missed out the middle bit of playing against NFL talent in college as well. And that's why a lot of these players, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, Michigan, Oregon, they train against NFL talent every day. So when they get to NFL, yes, it is a big step up. Even though we've said it a few times before on this podcast that the talent is just so good coming out of college now, and it's probably closer than ever. The college players still say it's just so much faster. Like we all three of us will never experience that sort of intricacy jump from college to mainstream NFL. And then the guys that are being drafted further from schools that have not trained with that talent, maybe have not had the coaching talent either around them that is an NFL talent caliber coaching. They're going to have to learn that as well. But some of these guys, it's about personality. It's about grit. I think some of these guys sometimes, I think both of you could agree on this, get drafted a lot higher because in the interview process, they're like, boy, yeah, he might not be at the level yet, but we give him a year and a half to train with our guys, to be under guys that we have in our organization. They're going to be a heck of a player. Is that something that maybe could happen with this corner?
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to come at. Look, the problem is that he just hasn't played against the competition, and so obviously it is difficult. But if he's impressed during interviews, yeah, I think it's fair to come out and say that he can develop. All of these guys have the potential, don't they, to develop and get better through what is in theory better coaching. So yeah, I think that he's got himself a very good chance of getting better. And he, like I say, it's difficult because this cornerback class, there isn't, I know people, I would say there isn't any real top cornerbacks. There's no Christian Gonzalez here, let's put it that way. There's no, like Pat Surtain.
Now, Jamob McCoy's,
potentially he could be decent, but I still don't think he's at that level. He's gone quiet now.
Well, it's not an argument. These are your plant flag players, I don't need to jump in.
I think he's got a good chance this one. And
it's not capture the flag, Adam. It is plant. No, there's no risk of your flag being taken. Don't worry, it's okay.
We were both really excited about Chris Johnson when we spoke about him in our cornerback show. We both had nothing but great things to say about him, other than, it's the Mountain West competition that he played against and whether it translates. So I'm really rooting for him. So this is a great player to plant your flag in, Adam.
I don't know where he goes though exactly.
What round?
Yeah. See, I feel like the top 4 will probably all be gone in the top 40 picks.
I think with what he brings to the table. And depending on what happens at the bottom of the first, I think he's easily top half of the second round. I think someone's definitely
a top 50 player.
Yeah, I think he's a top 50 player. Yes.
Okay, that's very exciting to see where he goes. Hopefully in the second round, I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for him. Andrew, on to you again.
Well, it wouldn't be a plant the flag if I didn't have an Ohio State player, right? I've got to bring up one. Adam says whenever we do the top 10 prospects, he's like, has this player got in at 10 just because he plays for Ohio State? Or is he actually that good? But I had to leave this guy. He's the forgotten guy from the Ohio State defense. That's Caden Curry, 6'3", 260 pounds. Last year recorded 11 sacks, which was second in the Big Ten. 16 and a half tackles for loss, which was the team high, and 46 pressures, which led Ohio State's edge rushers. This guy has a really, really high floor. Adam, you're like this. Adam's favorite saying, this guy plays with his hair on fire. Elite toughness, his pass rush ability, his elite burst timing, his counter moves are excellent. His run defense matches what he can do in the pass rush ability as well. He's really disciplined. He's really physical. His technique, his motor, he just never quits at all. He's really gritty. He can play inside and outside. And he showed, playing at Ohio State, leading all these players, he showed that he can do it against elite opposition. The only issue with this guy is he's very undersized for an edge rusher, and that most elite NFL offensive tackles are going to be massively outweigh him big time. But I think the motor that he's got on him, and he's never quit mentality, I think he can make it as a rotational edge rusher in the NFL. And I think there's a plenty of defensive-minded teams. You know, the Steelers would be perfect for him to land at. I think Cowboys would really benefit from this. Patriots would benefit from him. Commanders would benefit from him. I think he's going to be an absolute steal. He's going to go anywhere between round 3 and 5, I reckon. Could be anywhere in that range. I really don't know where he's going to go. A lot of people have likened to him, if you want a name comparison, to Josh Sweat. We've seen him have a lot of success in the NFL on 2 teams. So I think, you know, he's the forgotten guy of the Ohio State defense, yet he's the one that showed up and played gritty and had good performances. Adam, you're frowning a lot.
No, sorry, I'm reading something and someone's done a comparison for him and it's Donovan Ezeraku, and I just find that funny because he was the original hair on fire guy. So that's what.
Come on, love that.
Wait,
you were massive on Ezeraku.
Yeah, that's what I
big on
mean.
him.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I wasn't frowning. I was just reading.
I'm glad you said.
I'm not sure about this. You've tried to pull the wool over our eyes with Ohio State here.
I'm glad you said the Steelers, because for someone who has seen Nick Herbig get used as a you know, he's still tall, but he's undersized in comparison to Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt, and yet I think he's really good. And we don't use him all the time, and we sort of use him as a bit of a linebacker as well. And then we use him on and then we rotate him in. And I think it's like it when I watch the Steelers, it's something that I like. I like them doing that rotation. And when he gets rotated in, he tends to be quite successful because teams aren't expecting it, almost, in a way. You know, sometimes teams are now set to that style of player or that size of player. And then when a player comes in who's maybe a little bit unconventional, I suppose, it throws them off a little bit. And I'm all for, I mean, we are strong admirers of players that put their hand in the ground and give it all they've got, as Adam loves to, let's say, the hair on fire players. So you'll be watching him closely then, Adam. You'll be keeping an eye out for him.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I haven't actually really watched much tape of him specifically, but obviously you see a lot through. Yeah, you see a lot of Ohio State, don't you? So I saw it through that, but yeah, I think he's got a solid chance of being able to do something. And I mean, okay, yeah, he is. They say he's undersized. I mean, he's not that undersized. He's about 6 pounds lighter than TJ Parker.
I mean, yeah, Josh Sweat, whose comparison to him is 6'5", 260 pounds. He's 6'3", 260 pounds. He's 2 inches smaller in height. So I don't understand why the consensus is that the bigger guys if he plays on the outside, the bigger guys, the tackles at 300 plus pounds are just going to sort of like massively outweigh him and push him around a little bit. But like I said, if you move him on the inside and you're putting him up against a right guard that's not as athletic, I think he's going to do them all day long. So that's what I mean. He's got versatility, and I think he could be a really, the Steelers have got Jack Sawyer as well, so former teammate at Ohio. So could be a nice little pairing. Could well be.
Adam, on to your next player.
So my next one is a linebacker out of Cincinnati, Jake Golday. He's 240 pounds, and I have no idea how tall he is. Let me just have a look. He's 6'4".
I was going to say 6'5". I'm glad you jumped.
Well, you're wrong. He's 6'4", I'm afraid. Golday is an amazing athlete. That's the one thing that he's really good at. Got really good speed, tested really well. 4.6 speed. Great footwork, explosive, strong tackler who can get from sideline to sideline really well. Good against the blitz as well. He's had 488 snaps in the slot over the last 2 years, so he's reliable in that as well. And just generally has a really good motor, keeps going all the way through the game, and reliable just guy to have as your linebacker. I do think he needs a bit of time. He needs to improve in certain areas. He's sort of like, he does struggle against zone a little bit. He needs to anticipate sometimes a little bit quicker. And I think he could put on a bit of extra weight and have a better anchor by doing that. When you actually look at him against the other linebackers that are in this class, he's actually one of the heavier ones, but I do think that he has the ability to put on a bit more weight and be a bit stronger. Now, I have him as a round 2 guy. The bald-headed one disagrees.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's going to, if we're, let's rule out Arvel Reese as what position he plays. It's edge linebacker.
Like linebacker.
Well, he's being talked as an edge.
It says linebacker.
While David Bailey, what are you classing David Bailey as?
He's a bit of both.
Oh, okay. He swings both ways. I just feel like after that, Sonny Styles is probably the first proper official linebacker off the board. And then I don't see any other linebackers going in the first round. And I have CJ Allen and Anthony Hill. I love Anthony Hill above this guy. I said to Adam a couple of names when we were trying to decipher who we might be on about that I have around a similar ranking as him. So I think that there's 3 to 4 maybe other linebackers that might go ahead of him, which I don't think there's going to be a massive run for linebackers in the second round that might push him down to the third.
I just think there's he's decent quality. I actually think the linebacker class is good this year, and I think that because of that, a lot of them are going to go higher than what people think. I feel like this year there is quite a strong case to be made for best player available for a lot of teams in this draft because it is about getting the quality rather than necessarily the position. One other thing, and I know this has got absolutely nothing to do with Jake Golday, so no offense to him. When we were talking about this last night, it took this man about 3 or 4 tries to work out who I was talking about. And he came out and said to me, "Oh God, please tell me you haven't done Jacob Rodriguez. What is your problem?"
I just feel like you've got some weird obsession this year with Texas Tech. And I was like, here we go. It's going to be Jacob Rodriguez. He's on the Texas Tech hype train. He's just going to fall in love with all of those players. And that's all I'm going to hear. You know, we've already heard Romello Heights. We've already heard David Bailey. We've already heard, I thought it's Jacob Rodriguez coming in here, isn't it?
It was that. No, that was the only.
No problem with him at all. He's an outstanding player. I think he goes before Golday in the draft.
I think he goes before Golday as well.
There's another one before him as well.
You don't actually have a college team, though, do you, Adam? Like,
no, I don't. And when
is your
no. Now you see, he says this, but basically what I did is I mentioned David Bailey, who is predicted to be in the top 3-4 picks of the draft, and I mentioned Romello Height because he was the other edge rusher on the same team. You tend to see them both at the same time. So,
Andrew, on to your final player.
Mine's a risky one. I've left him till last. But
is it a Texas Tech player?
No, it's not.
Ah.
It's a guy that I planted my flag in last year, and he went back to college. And it didn't kind of work out well for him to return. I think if he'd have come out last year, we'd be talking about him as a top of the second.
I can guess that. I reckon I can guess this one.
First round guy. What you
I think I can guess who you're going to say. I'm Garrett Nussmeier.
Garrett Nussmeier. We've got it in one there. Garrett Nussmeier. 6'2", 203 pounds. Like I said, 2024 tape is outstanding. 2025, he played with an injury all the way through the year. So he played hurt all year. And their 25 O-line was bad. Their run game was poor. The coaching staff, the play calling was all over the place. They all got sacked, fired. They were all, he was beat up. Oh, we've lost Fred completely. I'm just telling you, Adam, now. How I feel about.
You can tell me if you like. I mean, I disagree, but there we go.
Back. He's back. He played that season, beat up all year round, and it was all on him for the whole year. So I'm going to wipe the 2025 season from it and take the 2024 tape and say that that's still the player that I know he is. When at the end of the season, when he was a bit healthier and was, away from LSU. The Senior Bowl, he was the best quarterback at practice and was the game MVP. He's very quick to process plays. He goes through his reads. He's a very pro-ready pocket sort of, pocket mobility is great. He's quick. He's got one of the quickest releases in this class at 2.58 seconds. Accuracy anticipation is really, really good, especially over those short and intermediate areas. And then he's got that gunslinger mentality as well. A lot of people have compared him to Stafford and Romo in terms of his play style. He had a great pro day as well. Again, healthy again. I think, in terms of size and weight and things like that, I think he's more comparable to Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, sort of like, they've made it. Everyone says the knock on this guy is he's not big enough in terms of weight to play. And if he takes some hits from some NFL players, then that could be him done. But Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff, very similar height and weight as him. So I'm going to plant my flag in him again and say that he can be a great quarterback. I think he needs a year, maybe. So if he ends at somewhere like the Rams, again, the Steelers or the Colts, I think it suits the Colts offense really, really well. But if you sit behind Stafford for a year, if you sit behind Rodgers for a year, I think he learns and becomes that great quarterback that I think he is.
Noticed, Adam, how he said that he didn't say sit behind Daniel Jones for a year.
No one wants to sit behind Daniel Jones. Who told you he was the same as Goff? Goff's 6'4" and 217 pounds.
Yeah, he's not far off of his height and weight, is he? Like 2 inches.
We just said 2 inches. It means a lot. So
we said it didn't mean much. It's 2 inches smaller, and if he bulks
and 14 pounds lighter. Look, the problem with Nussmeier is that he thinks he's Brett Favre playing. He thinks he's Brett Favre, and he isn't. And that's the problem.
What is he more like then,
Adam? Quinn Ewers. They're like that comparison.
In 2024, Adam, did
Dylan
you like
Gabriel, a bit like Dylan Gabriel.
Did you like Garrett Nussmeier in 2024? Did you enjoy that?
I thought some of the tape was good because it's basically a highlight reel.
Well,
but when you actually watch some of the, I don't want to hear your stats. When you watch some of the tape, the concern with him is that he thinks he's Brett Favre, but he's like 5 inches shorter and about 40 pounds less. And he doesn't have he can run, but he doesn't have the run game. He's actually closer to Jaden Daniels.
He's not, but he's not a dual. I wouldn't say he's a dual threat quarterback, but he can.
He's closer to Jaden Daniels in size, but he plays like he's Brett Favre.
But Jaden Daniels is trying to run into players. This guy's not. He's a pocket passer with good mobility outside of the pocket. He's not running
I'm not sure it translates to the NFL.
His 2024 stats, he had over 5,000 yards, he had 28 touchdowns, and he had a completion percentage of 64.5%. In terms of talking about the other guys of what they did in 2025, we've seen Ty Simpson, who's now being talked about as high as a top 10 pick in some people's mocks, definitely a first rounder. He's had 1 year of that, and his stats were less yards, one more touchdown. And I'm just thinking, Garrett Nussmeier's done this over multiple years, and he's not being talked about in the same vein.
So what round would you say he's going to go? Would you say he's going to go in then, Andrew? And what round do you think he'd go in, Adam?
I think
reasonably as well, Adam. Don't go, oh, he's a 5th round guy. Like, teams are going to get a quarterback.
I was going to say round 8. Come on, let's get it right.
Go on, Andrew, you first.
I think he's going to go in round 3.
Fair, okay.
But I've got a round 2 grade on him.
And then Adam,
I think round 4, but I wouldn't be shocked if he went at the back of the 3rd.
That's what I mean. Like, there's sometimes teams do go and get even if we think he should go lower, they will go and get him because of the positional value. So there is that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Adam, on to your final player.
So my final guy is a tight end from Vanderbilt, and we are going for Eli Stowers at 6'4", 239 pounds. Fred has heard of this one.
I was going to say, I feel like this guy could accidentally slip into the end of the first person from what I've seen some places. I don't believe that, but
I think he has.
He's going to be a second round pick. Is my point? He's like
he is
not like
yeah. He is going to be a second round pick. I actually think that he deserves to be a first round pick. He has the talent and the ability about him. Really good speed, great vertical threat, reliable hands. Has sort of like he's got this quarterback background, which means that he knows where to find space, and he's brilliant in them sort of plays. Really quick feet, causes defenders to struggle to try and mirror him, and he's past them. Great catch radius, did really well at the combine when it came to that, and I think the leap he did really well, but he just had overall his whole combine was very good. Good yards after the catch guy, and also he's consistently improved year on year. He's got better and versatile when it comes to the lineup. He can play anywhere. He is a little bit undersized at 239, but that's kind of the way that the NFL's going with the tight ends. Don't ask him to run block. He's not very good at that. And, he did drop a few more balls this year in 2025, which is a slight concern, but it's not the end of the world. As we said, I think he'll go second round. I think he's got first round talent, but I just don't know if a team's going to want to go for him at the back of the first, because to be honest, I don't even know if there's anyone who really needs him. Very lofty comparison of Trey McBride. That's if everything goes well. We've got another Trey McBride on our hands, but that might be pushing it a bit.
My comparison was Evan Ingram. I thought it was more of an Evan.
Yeah, that's probably a bit fairer.
I think the interesting thing about Adam bringing this guy up is that once you start getting deep into the way he plays, the athlete, the speed, the ball skills, the yards after the catch, the fact that his story is fantastic as well. He was picked up from high school to Texas A&M as a quarterback. He tried out. He was their quarterback, and he transferred to New Mexico State to be their quarterback, where Diego Pavia was, and Diego Pavia beat him out, and then he followed him to go and be his tight end / wide receiver. So it's a really interesting story. And when you really dive into it and you get into this, Adam brings up some great points of this guy is a lot closer in terms of value as Kenyon Sadiq is. Yet Kenyon Sadiq is being talked about in some people's minds as a top 10, top 15 draft pick. Like, you can't miss out on this tight end. He's the best tight end. There's no other tight ends in this draft, so you've got to get him early. And when you really get into it, Adam's right. Eli Stowers is not that far behind him. And I think there might be a few people get off of the Sadiq train and get on the Stowers train when it comes to the draft. And I think I had a place filler in one of my mock drafts where I said to Adam, I was like, I'm getting on the train. I've got him in at the back of the first. I've got him in at the Patriots as a filler. Just because I think it's fair to put him in that conversation, which he's not in. I think everyone knows the name, but I don't think anybody's saying he's a first round pick. And I don't think anyone's put him in the conversation with Sadiq.
Well, it's definitely a name I've heard, and I'm very, very excited to see where he goes in the NFL. Andrew, Adam, thank you very much. Just before we go, apparently the Steelers have hosted Taylor Green today.
Oh, the quarterback that might play tight end.
Yeah, apparently so. Apparently, where he's visiting, he's visiting today. Actually, yeah, it's just what it came up, and I was like, if this is Garrett Nussmeier, that's hilarious, because it popped up just as you were talking about Garrett Nussmeier, and I was like, that's why I was frantically looking for it. And I was like, oh, Taylor Green, okay, that's not Garrett Nussmeier. Andrew, Adam, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you all for watching. If you have watched on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe this video, and go and check out all of our draft content that Andrew and Adam have done in the last couple of weeks and last couple of days. In fact, is absolutely fantastic in the preparation up to the NFL 2026 draft coming next week on Thursday into Friday night from Pittsburgh, PA as well. Again, thank you. Make sure you check out all of our stuff on social media as well, where you can give us a follow. Until then, we'll see you all again very soon.